Flexibility is a tremendous asset to an athlete because it allows the body to move more smoothly and because it plays a crucial role in preventing injury. Becoming more flexible is actually rather easy, but most athletes fail in this quest because they don't understand the difference between stretching and warming up. These are two totally different concepts and must be understood in order to maximize gains in flexibility. Warming up prepares an athlete for a workout. It involves activities such as those used in the dynamic warm-up section of Video 1, things that require an athlete to move around, things that cause an athlete to sweat. Once an athlete has successfully warmed up, then they can begin safely stretching and pulling on their muscles. The fact that the flexibility section is the last one on the Turbo Athletes video series is actually quite appropriate because this is when stretching is best performed. Last, it is at the end of a workout, not the beginning, that an athlete's muscles are the most flexible and the most receptive to gains in flexibility. In this section, we will demonstrate some of the techniques that we use at the end of workouts to help our athletes gain flexibility. All of the techniques that we will demonstrate will fall into three categories: static stretching, assisted stretching, and ballistic stretching. Here Jake and I are going through the easiest and most common form of stretching, static stretching. Static stretches include all of the traditional stretching exercises like touching both toes or spreading the feet apart and reaching to one foot or the other like we are doing here. As you watch, you will notice that Jake and I really aren't doing anything unique or anything that you haven't seen. However, the key is not what we are doing, but when we are doing it. As mentioned, the most common mistake athletes and coaches make is to confuse stretching with warming up. Warming up takes place at the beginning of a workout, and stretching is something that takes place after the athlete has warmed up, which is usually at the end of a workout. Since Jake and I have just finished going through some training exercises, we are now performing some basic static stretches that will help him gain flexibility. An easy way to understand the issue of flexibility is to think about stretching a rubber band in extreme temperatures. How far will a rubber band stretch that has been sitting in a freezer? Probably not very far before it breaks. But if you were to take that rubber band and slowly heat it up to room temperature, you would then be able to stretch it much larger than its original size. Like the rubber band, a warm muscle can be stretched much further than a cold muscle. Thus, a warm muscle is much more receptive to gains in flexibility. It is for this reason that flexibility exercises should be performed at the end of workouts and not the beginning. This is the same reason that all those athletes who say they diligently stretch before they go to bed every night never seem to get any more flexible. When a coach or training partner is present, then you may want to perform some assisted stretching exercises with your athlete. Assisted stretching works off the same concept as static stretching, except that it allows the athlete to push each of their stretches just a little bit further than they could otherwise achieve by themselves. Here Bethany and Mallory have just finished a workout, so they are both warm and both ready to do a little flexibility work. In this demonstration, Mallory relaxes on her back while Bethany assists her through a series of stretches. Bethany begins by pushing on Mallory's left foot and knee until Mallory's thigh is nearly parallel with the ground. Bethany will hold Mallory's leg here for about 10 seconds before she releases it. You will notice that Bethany is also keeping Mallory's right leg flat against the floor by gently holding it down with her own knee. One of the most important things to do during assisted stretching is to communicate. The athlete must always tell their coach or training partner when they have stretched to their maximum limit. Stretches should be slow and controlled and pushed only to the point that the athlete is comfortable. Failure to communicate or to concentrate on what is going on may result in overstretching, which can cause injury to the athlete. While the last stretch hit mostly the upper hamstring, this stretch focuses on the mid to lower hamstring. Here Bethany holds Mallory's left foot and knee in a straight extended position and then slowly pushes towards Mallory's head. Again, Bethany is using her knee to keep Mallory's right leg flat to the ground. When Bethany has pushed her leg back as far as she is comfortable with, Mallory will say stop. Bethany will hold her leg for a count of 10. As her leg is being stretched, Mallory simply concentrates on being loose and relaxed. In this third assisted stretch, Mallory bends her left leg and rotates it over to the right side of her body.
Bethany then places one hand on Mallory's left shoulder and one hand on her left knee. The goal is to keep the shoulders flat to the ground and to eventually work the knee all the way to the ground. By exhaling the air in her lungs, Mallory will be able to stretch just a little bit further. This stretch hits the athlete's lower back and the outside of their thigh and hips. By sitting up, spreading her feet apart, and keeping her legs in a straight, extended position, Mallory can perform a stretch that hits the hamstrings, groin, and lower back. From this position, Mallory walks her hands out on the floor as far as she possibly can. Bethany kneels behind her and pushes on Mallory's lower back to help her hold this extended position. Because some athletes are extremely inflexible, it is important that the athlete communicates very clearly with the coach so that a painful overstretch does not take place. Even with a flexible soccer player / cheerleader like Mallory, we need to be careful to stay within safe limits. In this final assisted stretch, we will hit the always important hip flexor muscle at the top of the thigh. Here Mallory lies on her stomach and Bethany lifts her knee off the ground. While this stretch may look a little awkward, it is excellent at hitting a hard-to-reach muscle and actually feels pretty good at the end of a tough workout. When practiced regularly, assisted stretching exercises can produce enormous gains in flexibility in a very short period of time. We recommend that an athlete perform approximately 10 minutes worth of various stretching exercises at the end of their workouts. Similar to assisted stretching is ballistic stretching. But rather than using the slow, controlled push from a partner like in assisted stretching, ballistic stretches involve higher speed movements and active bouncing motions. A popular form of ballistic stretching is the leg swing. Here Sean demonstrates a front leg swing by bracing himself against a rail with his right hand, standing on his left toe, and allowing his right leg to dangle towards the ground. From this position, he lets his right leg swing like a pendulum on a clock. The leg stays straight, and with every swing, it comes up just a little higher in the front and back. Athletes will feel this stretch in their hamstrings and hip flexors. By turning towards the railing, Sean is able to perform a side leg swing. This stretch works just like the last, except that the leg swings across the body and the stretch occurs in the hip and groin. Another example of ballistic stretching is the push-pull stretch being demonstrated by Sean and Troy. Here, athlete and instructor sit facing each other with feet spread and knees locked. They grab each other's hands and alternate pulling forwards and back. As the athlete is pulled forward, the muscles in the hamstrings and lower back become the focus of the stretching motion. Like other ballistic stretches, this exercise closely mimics the type of flexibility needed during high-speed, explosive motions. When an athlete sprints, their hamstrings don't slowly stretch and hold in a motionless position before being released, like during static and assisted stretching. They quickly and violently stretch to their maximum limit, snap back to an unstretched position, and then immediately stretch again. Ballistic stretches duplicate such muscle use. A final example of ballistic stretching is the hacksaw. As Sean lies on the floor, Troy takes his left leg and pushes it into his chest. The moment his leg reaches the deepest point of the stretch, Sean pushes against Troy's resistance and fires it back out to a straight, extended position. This motion can be performed 8 to 10 times on the left leg and then 8 to 10 times on the right leg. Once again, this ballistic stretch recreates the type work done by the muscles during high-speed, explosive motions. In this section, we have demonstrated 3 forms of stretching: static, assisted, and ballistic. We don't believe that any single form is better than the other, but rather recommend that an athlete try to sprinkle in a little of each in their flexibility training. Again, it's not so much what type stretching you do, but when you do it. Athletes that get in the habit of properly stretching for 5 to 10 minutes at the end of workouts are likely to see quick and significant gains. An athlete that includes superior flexibility in their skill arsenal will have a better chance to excel in sports both this season and many more in the future.